Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. Mom and I are both really excited that you can join us again today. And today we are continuing our series with Dennis Henson and his Real Impact book. And today we are going to be doing From the Brink of Disaster. So you will really love this story. I'm going to just share my screen with everybody, and then we can listen to the story, and then Mom and Dennis and I can discuss it. So welcome back, Dennis. We're super excited that you're on the podcast with us again today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, okay, we will listen to From the Brink of Disaster. So this is a good story. I know you're all going to super enjoy this one.
From the Brink of Disaster. In 1887, Conrad Nicholson Hilton Sr. was born into a wealthy New Mexico family. He learned about business while working at his father's hotel and general store as a boy. When he was young, he entered politics and was elected to New Mexico's first state legislature. Although by the end of the term, he was done with public life and chose banking as his new career. Yet Conrad didn't intend to work in banks. He planned to own them. As I mentioned, he came from a wealthy family. At the height of the oil boom, Hilton spotted a listing for a bank in Texas. Contacting the broker, he signed a purchase contract, but when the deal fell through, he instead purchased the Mobley Hotel in Cisco, Texas. The Mobley was an excellent investment. Because of its massive success, Hilton began to purchase and build hotels throughout the Lone Star State. Things were going so well that in 1926, he vowed to build a new hotel every year. Outperforming his own plan, Conrad averaged building 3 per year over the next few years, and by 1928, he held more than 600 rooms. Already holding investments of more than $3 million, in the fall of 1929, he bought a $1,750,000 300-room hotel in El Paso. Unfortunately, 2 weeks later, the U.S. stock market crashed, marking the beginning of the Great Depression. The Depression hit the hotel industry hard. Almost 80% of the hotels in the country either went bankrupt or were lost to foreclosure. With hundreds of empty rooms and a myriad of payments, Hilton struggled to hold on. He made adjustments by closing entire floors, removing phones, and asking his staff to work for room and board. Yet the economy continued to deteriorate with no sign of recovery. Conrad remained optimistic and believed that things would get better if he could just hold out a little longer. Unfortunately, he was wrong, and things got worse. Under enormous pressure, Conrad Hilton turned to prayer to give him the strength to continue. Desperate for options, he accepted a meeting with the wealthy owners of American Life Insurance, W.L. Moody, and his son Shern. Even though Hilton knew these men were shady, at this point he believed them to be his only hope. The Moody's agreed to loan Hilton $300,000 if he pledged his hotels as collateral. And though that loan provided some breathing room, it was short-lived. Meanwhile, the Great Depression persisted. If I could just find another $200,000, I think I'll be okay. But the banks were not lending, and his friends were also facing hard times. Hilton was so deeply in debt that his accountants and attorneys urged him to file bankruptcy, but he felt obligated to those who believed in him and invested in his dreams. So he refused to give up and used every penny at his disposal to save his hotels. One day, walking through the lobby, one of the bellboys handed him $300, the man's entire life savings. "I believe in you, Mr. Hilton." Later, at a filling station, a young attendant told him, "I was ordered to cut off your credit, Mr. Hilton, but I've paid for your last 2 tanks with my own money." Things deteriorated until Conrad had no money to keep his home or even buy food. Consequently, he moved his family into the El Paso Hilton to provide them with food and a place to stay. He was reduced to borrowing travel money from his associates to visit his own hotels. Yet Hilton never gave up and remained determined to come up with solutions. He believed he could turn things around despite everything that was happening. One morning on a train car, Conrad was thumbing through a magazine when he spotted a picture of a hotel. It was a drawing of plans for the fabulous Waldorf Astoria. The Waldorf was to be built in New York City and become the world's largest hotel, Then something astonishing happened. Hilton removed the picture from the magazine, and before placing it in his pocket, he jotted a note, "One day I will purchase this." Just imagine Conrad Hilton sitting in a train car during the Great Depression, paying for his ticket with borrowed money. He was totally broke, deeply in debt, and had no idea of what to do. Seeing a picture of what was to become the world's grandest hotel, save it, and resolve that he would one day own it. What a powerful expression of faith. The Moody saw no way out for Conrad and threatened to call their loan and take his hotels. Hilton knew he was on the brink of disaster. If the Moody's followed through, he would lose everything, leaving his family homeless and destitute. But rather than give up, Conrad Hilton prayed for guidance. Then, with renewed energy, he went to Galveston to meet with W.L. Moody. The older Moody was a shrewd businessman and realized that Conrad Hilton was a much better hotel manager than he or his son would ever be. So, without informing the younger Moody, W.L. agreed to meet with Connie. Note, Moody's hotels were also failing. At that meeting, the old man presented an offer. He proposed merging their hotels and forming a new company, the National Hotel Company. Then he suggested that Connie take over management of the new company's properties. In return, Hilton would own 1/3 of the new business, receive an annual salary of $18,000, and share 1/3 of any company profit. Conrad struggled to contain his excitement. While maintaining a poker face, he requested a single caveat, a clause stating that should their partnership dissolve, Hilton would retain 1/3 of its hotels. Incredibly, the older Moody inserted the clause and signed the agreement. Conrad's prayers had been answered, and the following week, he started back to work with a renewed passion. Once his salary checks began, he paid back the bellboy and the gas station attendant. He also gave them shares of his stock, which paid them dividends for the rest of their lives. Then, while still providing their room and board, he restarted the salaries of his remaining employees. While Conrad successfully managed the combined chain, he never stopped purchasing and building his own hotels. The younger Moody resented the partnership and, after a time, caused it to become toxic. So, Conrad dissolved the business and exercised his clause. A fierce legal battle followed, but Hilton eventually gained control of his 1/3 of the hotels. Over the next few decades, Conrad Hilton's holdings expanded throughout the United States and the civilized world. Then, as he resolved on that Texas train while broke and facing financial disaster, Connie purchased the Waldorf Astoria, the world's largest hotel, and renamed it the Conrad Hilton. Throughout his life, Hilton continued to dream big dreams, and at the time of his death, most of his dreams had been realized. Even today, the Hilton hotel chain continues to span the globe. To accomplish big things, you must first dream big things. Conrad Hilton.
Well, that's an amazing story. So, Dennis, do you want to tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write that story about that and the message that you were trying to get across while sharing it?
Sure. Back in the mid-70s, I was a traveling, I sold to schools and athletic clubs and so forth. And I had all of North Florida and South Georgia, and I would stay in hotels a lot. So I was in a South Georgia hotel, and I think probably the TV must not have been working, because I opened the drawer beside the bed and pulled out a book. I can't remember the name of it, but it was the book that had that story in it. Be My Guest, that's the name of it. So I just opened the book and turned directly to that story. It was a thick book. And when I was researching this, I got the book and had a difficult time finding the story. And I thought, isn't that amazing that in the mid-70s, I couldn't see the TV, so I picked up a book. I turned to this story, and it impressed me so much that I remembered it for 50 years to research it and put it in this book. So I think it was meant to be there. I really do. And, the point is, don't ever give up. That's the seventh secret of success, is persistence. And the first secret of success is to get your mind right. And Hilton was famous for dreaming big dreams. He always thought big. So when he decided to go into business, he was going to buy banks. That's pretty big. You think, I'm going to go out and buy a bank, and he would have too, but the deal fell through, and there was a hotel in the same city available, so he purchased that. So the story just goes along exactly with the seven secrets of success, and it's cathartic. Wasn't it amazing that he was just this far from bankruptcy, and he picks up a magazine and sees the largest hotel that's going to be built in the world, and says, I'm going to buy that. And he's riding on a train he borrowed money to get the train ticket. So I just thought that was just a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Mom, what was your takeaway from the story?
It's really interesting how people will help other people out, and they didn't even know that he was going to be doing what he was doing, right?
Yeah.
But it's really, I loved it. I persevere and stick in there, go after what you want.
Yeah, I jotted a couple of notes because that I thought when I was listening to the story was, one, I found it really interesting about the praying and the faith and, calling on our higher power when we're in these kind of times of needs, and that's so good to have that connection to some kind of source that's bigger than us. So that was one that I took away from it. The other was similar with Mom's, was, these people that lent their hands out to help him, and then in return he gave back. And I think that just speaks so much, because I think when we're giving without expecting anything in return, it just brings so much abundance back into our lives. So I think that's really cool. And then the other thing that I thought, when he ripped out the picture of the hotel and put it in his pocket and said, I'm going to own this, I'm like, oh, he's doing a vision board way back then.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, it's amazing what can happen when people know what they want. If they just decide, this is what I want, which is the first of the seven secrets of success, is getting your mind right, is have a definite purpose, know what you want. That's the reason the lamp is on the front of the book. I'll hold the book up. It has a lamp on it. When Aladdin found out that the lamp was magic, the genie came out and said, okay, you can have 3 wishes. What do you want? He forced Aladdin to say, this is what I want, and then he could get it. Well, that's kind of how it really is in life. If you decide what you really, really want, and then start taking steps in that direction, it won't be long before you'll have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such an important message to people, right? Is really about figuring out what you truly, truly want. Because I think sometimes we wrestle with that a little bit in, being a little wishy-washy sometimes, I think, with what we want. Well, I kind of want this, but and I think you're right. When you find that and you put your mind to it, and you kind of not put the blinders on, but you just get so focused, you can really achieve so many different things.
Absolutely.
Mom?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with everything you said.
There's if you go to the realimpactbook.com, the very first link there is the mystery of the lamp. And if you click on that, there's an audio recording, and it's also written out, that explains why the Aladdin story parallels life. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. So I hope everybody will visit the website. While you're there, scroll down to the bottom if you haven't already, and click on Podcast Attendee, and you can get the ebook of Real Impact Daily Inspiration for free, and there's no strings attached. You just put in your name and your email, and you can have it in seconds. As soon as you hit send, it comes right back to you. And so you can read it. What I hope that you'll do is read the introduction and how to use the book, maybe read a short story, a poem, and a quote, and then think of, who can this book help? Do I know someone that's struggling, having a hard time, needs some inspiration, or someone graduating from high school or college that this could help them form a better life? Or maybe someone in the nursing home that just needs some entertainment, because the stories are interesting, and the quotes and the poems.
Yeah, they are very interesting. And I don't know how far you've gotten in the book, Mom, but I just found like they were so inspirational, all the stories. And it was like, just so many people were, in so many cases, people that we respect and things like that, just, either came from very humble beginnings and really, really just pushed their way to the top by just being persistent about it and believing that it was going to happen. And, a lot of them struggled so much. And, when you're reading the stories, for me, that was inspirational, because it was like, don't give up, right? Keep going, keep holding on to that dream of yours and just keep pushing with it. So, yeah, the stories are wonderful. So if, people are reading it, I would highly recommend the book.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I would too highly recommend the book. It's an excellent book to read. And while you're reading it, to uplift you and that feeling of being, oh, that's really cool. That's what you keep saying to yourself. And I think that there. And I think too, as people, what we do is we have faith, and sometimes we lose. We have to trust.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of froze there.
And that's what they're saying in that every day. Yeah, sorry. I know this computer is a little new yet. Anyway, yeah, faith that it's going to come through, and it will.
That's right. It will.
It will. And I agree. This would be a great gift for, like you said, people that are graduating, or someone that you feel really could use some inspiration, because I think when we're trying to achieve these dreams that we've put out there into life, I feel like books like yours are so wonderful, because there's so much inspiration behind them that when you're reading it, like I found myself when I was reading it, well, one, I just was like, ooh, how fast can I read this? Because I just wanted to get to the next story because they were exciting, right? So I know how I was supposed to read it, but I was just excited about the stories. And I think that's a good thing. Like, that says a lot to say that they were inspirational that way. And I really felt like, as I was reading them, like you were alluding to, Mom, is they really lifted your spirits up and made you feel so hopeful. So thank you for writing this book and sharing it with everybody like you have, because that's an amazing thing to do.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's a link on the realimpactbook.com up at the very top in the middle that says contact us, which is me. And it has my email address and phone number. So if you are having an event and you need a speaker, or if you have a radio station and you need a guest, or even a podcast, contact me. I'm available, and I want to get the word out, because the book can't help people unless people know about it. So that's why I'm excited about being on this podcast with the Daughters of the Moon, because they're helping me get the word out, and I so appreciate it.
Yes, we're very excited that we had this opportunity to do this 12-part series with you. So we've got one more to go. So we'll keep everybody in suspense for the next one. But I just think that people are just really going to love it. And I love that, we can hear the story and then, discuss it a little bit. And I think that helps people to kind of, one, know what your thoughts and inspiration about why that was important to you, sharing that story. So we appreciate you sharing that
Yeah.
with us as well.
Glad to. I was glad to. In fact, pretty much all of the stories have a story behind them, and I'm glad you asked me about that because I really like that story. It's kind of a miracle. I mean, if you get the book Be My Guest and try to find that story, it's going to take you a while because it's a very thick book and it has lots and lots of stuff in it. That story is just like on one page out of maybe 600 or 700 pages. So it's just amazing that I found it and was able to remember it for 50 years.
Yeah, meant to be for sure. So
Right.
it's funny how the divine works with us, right? To just give us what we need to move forward. And that's a good example, right? Like you've been collecting these stories and you've been collecting these poems and quotes and things like that over all this time, and then we're able to share them and remember them. And so I think that's amazing. And clearly you were meant to get this book out there for people to enjoy and be uplifted and inspired by. So
Yeah,
That's
be
right.
inspired. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just thinking, I had really never thought about writing a book like that. It just, it just hit me one day after that podcast when someone said, what's the number one success habit? And I said, well, that's forming the habit of something positive, reading something positive that leads you toward your goal every day. And so after that podcast, I thought, well, I've been collecting for 50 years. I can put all these poems and short stories and quotes and books together, and people can form the habit really easily, regardless of their time schedule. So but it was a powerful thing. It wasn't like I just had an idea. It was like somebody grabbed me and shook me and said, you can do this. And I never had that kind of feeling before. So anyway, it took me 6 years. I thought, oh, I can do that in 2 months, but it took 6 years. I had a lot of research and had to get permission on a number of things. And there were some quotes that I didn't get to put in there because I can only use 6, and the people wouldn't give me permission to use more than 6 of their quotes. It was their attorneys, and it wasn't really them. So I don't have any hard feelings about that, but some of the quotes were old in public domain, but some of the more newer ones, I had a difficult time, finding the people, and the same way with the poems and getting permission to use them.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you got to use the ones that you did because they were wonderful. And again, like high reviews on your book because it was an amazing inspirational book, and we appreciate you being on with us and doing this series with us and sharing these stories with our followers, and hopefully they will share it with their friends and families as well to help uplift them and spread the word about your book, and it will continue to just keep going on and going on and going on. So thank you so much for being with us. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I appreciate you. I look forward to these. They're a lot of fun. I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And we appreciate you being on with us. And we will look forward to the next one in our 12-part series. So make sure everybody's tuning in so you don't miss it. And we will see you on the very next one.
You bet you will.
Thank you. Bye-bye.